about the linebacking backups and their chance to play. Well, Kevin, under Jim Harbaugh's plan, they could always opt to go to the NFL. If his plan is implemented, there would be all sorts of chaos going on, but maybe there's an agenda there. Wink, wink, possibly.
Well, when you don't send your kids to your top ones don't get drafted at all, Shea Patterson. I mean, what do you have to worry about? And I mean, they own the 6th round, so those guys probably aren't going to jump early. So your first opportunity, your best opportunity to beat Ohio State is to thin out Ohio State. It's the most self-serving BS plan I've ever heard in my life, and it's just the act of a desperate guy trying to find something to grasp onto. What a joke. What a joke. That's what their program has become, a joke.
Well, it's not an NCAA rule. It's the NFL has the rule that you have to be 3 years out of high school to apply for the draft. And so he can say whatever he wants, but he's not changing he doesn't work for the NFL. He's not changing the NFL rule. And I don't see any groundswell from the NFL to change the rule anyway. Their Players Association would have to agree to that. And I can't imagine why they would ever do that and cut down job opportunities for their rank and file by, making it open field. Let's say Chris Olave, after 2 years, could come in and take Odell Beckham Jr.'s job. I'm just using 2 names, but that doesn't make any sense. So, and honestly, I'm a firm believer in the 3-year rule because I don't think that a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old kid has any business being on a football practice field with a 30-year-old guy who's trying to feed his family. I just don't. I think you're setting yourself up for injuries and a lot of broken lives if you do something like that. And it's not even about the college experience and whatever else. I mean, people can take that for granted and poo-poo it all they want. Kind of a side thought on this, and we'll circle back on Harbaugh, but I watched an interview with Nick Saban about, I don't know if it was necessarily about name, image, and likeness, but it was about the whole amateur professional thing. And he said that from what they can ascertain, and I don't know if this is on an annual basis or for a guy's 3 or 4 years on campus, but in addition to the scholarship, the school probably invests $200,000 in each guy in terms of proper nutrition, proper weight training, strength and conditioning, everything else that goes into it, and the professional development by your assistant coach, the guy who takes you as a piece of clay and molds you into an NFL player. You're not an NFL player when you walk through that door. You are closer to being an NFL player when you walk out that door, and a lot of that is because of the $200,000 that each school agrees to invest in you. And that's something that I don't think I've ever heard anybody illustrate that like that before. That is a perfect endorsement of what this college model, like it or don't like it. I know some of us, see it for what it is, quasi-professional football. But to me, I think it's a perfect endorsement of this is more than, they're just getting a college education. Bullcrap. They're getting firm development from the time they're 18 years old until the time they're 21 or 22 years old to take them and make them a commodity that can now be marketed as an NFL player. And I don't think anybody ever talks about that.
You see these players coming out of high school, and everybody likes to say, wow, that's a grown A man right there. You know who's a grown A man? A grown A man who's in the league. As Steve said, that 30-year-old who this is his profession for years and years and years. And a 53-man roster is not all that big. And Steve hit the nail right on the head by saying the association is, the Players Association is not going to want to have a situation of where these guys who are kind of maybe in the twilights of their careers, and that's not necessarily talking age, but just the way that these things rotate, are going to get pushed out for what's going to have to end up being development projects at this point, because that 18 Corey Foreman, who's #1 probably I think in all of our rankings in terms of high school athletes here in the class of 2021, he's not going to be able to walk into a program right there and look like he's on the same level as any of these, NFL defensive linemen. He's going to it's going to take time. So it's just, I don't know. I just put this to chickens being scared birds and not drinking milk or whatever. It's just the quirky weirdness of Harbaugh. And, maybe I'm a little harsh in calling their program a joke, but, they need to figure something out, because this guy just keeps popping off with these weird takes. And I think we enjoy talking about him. And, if he were coaching my team, I know I'd be cringing and just wanting him to shut up.
Well, the whole grown men thing, I'm just looking at like the number one outside linebacker in the 2021 class, according to the composite, is Terrence Lewis. He's 6'1", 200 pounds as an outside linebacker. So he's smaller than the running backs he's going to be tackling if he were to leave early. And the problem is, guys like that would think they're good enough and ready to leave. I'm not saying like, Terrence Lewis thinks he's ready, but there would be guys who would think they'd be good enough to leave as soon as possible. And they'd have people telling them that. And when you're talking about, if you get drafted in the 7th round, if you're just making minimum money, that's still life-changing for most people, for most players. And so as long as I get drafted, or as long as I sign an undrafted free agent contract, I know I'll make a team. And obviously there's no proof of that, because they haven't gone to these lengths of letting these young guys in yet. And I'm just imagining like a freshman offensive guard leaving early and then having to deal with like Ted Washington from, 10 years ago, 380-pound nose tackle. And now he's a 35 years old veteran and just made of hate. And now some rookie 19-year-old has to try to move him on the goal line. And it's a terrible idea.
Well, at least these guys are going to get some money in their pocket when name, image, likeness goes through or whatnot. So
I think
it's not going to be the same as, signing some of these deals or whatnot. But it's more than just laundry money that Jim Delaney, the former Big Ten commissioner, loved to talk about year in and year out in Chicago during football media days. It's going to be more than that in these guys' pockets.
Well, and I think you could see a top guy earning, I don't know, a few $100,000. And which is going to be, close to the minimum of an NFL player. And there's no reason to implement this kind of rule right now, a Harbaugh's rule, the Harbaugh rule. There's no reason for it other than to bring Ohio State down to your level, because you remember how active and how energetic he was when he first started at Michigan, the satellite camps, the sleepovers, and doing whatever he could to get a recruit. And now he's coming up with ways. He's sitting at his desk thinking of open letters to write in order to bring everybody down to his level. And it's like, you know what? I'm tired of trying to recruit these 5-star kids. I wish they weren't here. They just need to go away, and I know where they can go. They can go to the NFL. And then if everybody's picking from the 3-star pile, then it's even. That's what the NCAA wants. They want to be even. And that's what I want. That's what Jim Harbaugh wants. Let's make it all even. The problem there, though, is that he doesn't develop his players very well either. So,
well, NASCAR also is supposed to be stock cars, and everybody's supposed to have the same thing, and it doesn't work out there either. So,
and NFL has the salary cap.
And you guys are just speaking to the physical readiness for the NFL. We're not speaking to mental and emotional maturity. We're not speaking to football acumen. There's so much made of the sophistication of the NFL versus college football. Can you imagine from high school to the NFL?
Well, going pro in anything straight out of high school, like now you're an engineer, but it's like, well, I used to study 15 minutes a day in high school, and now your entire life, 8-10 hours a day, you're face down in your work. Very few high schoolers are ready to be pro in anything or good enough.
You're going to put an 18-year-old first round, 18-year-old, 19-year-old pick of the Raiders in Las Vegas and say, here you go, kid, run around. He's a member of the Las Vegas Raiders, probably known. You don't think for a second he's not going to be, admitted to the Spearmint Rhino and places like that he has no business being? Oh my God, what a train wreck that would be. I mean, just out of the sheer just weird curiosity. I'd almost want to see it just for a test study, but I wouldn't want to put anybody through that situation. That's just a nightmare waiting to happen.
Especially now that you can get fake IDs online.
Well, and I mean, I saw Vegas Vacation. I mean, you just sit there and you just hold up a sign and you're Mr. Papa Giorgio. I mean, come on.